Shalom. You know that on the deepest level, the root of everything is in the Torah. The Torah is really all about roots. Everything in this world has a roots. This week we are reading Parashat Vayigash, and we read about the reconciliation of Yosef and his brothers. And Yosef is reunited again with his family, with his father and his brothers. And this is this incredible scene of reunion, of coming together, of reconciliation. And since everything has a root in the Torah, then the root of every coming together, the root of the reconciliation of all the broken relationships, they all come from the reconciliation of Yosef and his brothers here in Parashat Vayigash. And we look around in the world and we see so many relationships that need to be rectified. We see so many broken relationships, broken through misunderstandings, whether it's between brothers and sisters, whether it's between parents and children. But everything has to happen in its proper time. And sometimes maybe things have to happen according to a plan. Maybe the loved one has a plan which is for the best. And sometimes maybe the parent or the brother says, it's not yet time. And so, don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. When you look at me with your eyes, I can't resist and I'm overwhelmed. So don't look at me like that yet, because it's not yet time. And here we read in chapter 45, now Joseph could not restrain himself in the presence of all who stood before him. So he called out, "Remove everyone from before me." And no one remained with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. You know that since everything has a root, and the root of every reconciliation of all broken relationships comes from the reconciliation of Yosef and his brothers this week, so too our sages tell us that the ultimate redemption, the reconciliation between us and our Father in heaven, is alluded to here in the reconciliation of Yosef and his brothers. This is the roots. And you know that when that happens, it has to be alone. Yosef called out, "Take everyone out of here. No one can be here. No one can be in my presence when I make myself known." When it happens, this reconciliation has to be totally alone. You know, there's a great secret. We read in the Song of Songs, it's in chapter 6 and verse 5, where we read, "Turn your eyes from me," God says to Israel. And it can be translated according to Rashi's understanding, "Turn your pleading eyes away from me, lest I be tempted," God says, "to bestow upon you now more holiness than you can bear." In other words, don't look at me that way now, children. It's not yet time. If you look at me that way now, I might have to make it happen now, even though it's not really time. And so Yosef, working on this paradigm of the ultimate redemption, put his brothers in such a situation that they would look at him that way, and he would not be able to resist. Yosef could not restrain himself anymore. And he set things up in such a way that the reaction of the brothers, with what was happening with Binyamin, the danger that they felt, and the frustration and the irony that they felt was so great, Yosef knew he would not be able to restrain himself. And this was really the intention that Yosef had by taking Binyamin and by making his threat. It was to get his brothers to the level where they would look at him on the level that Israel would be seen by God, the level where there can be no more restraint, where God no longer will say, "Turn your pleading eyes from me." You know, this is actually the concept of the commandment where we are instructed in the Torah to be seen by God 3 times a day, 3 times a year, in the Holy Temple, on the 3 festivals of pilgrimage. That is also the aspect of God saying, "Turn your eyes from me." When the time of the redemption comes, just as Yosef was able to orchestrate with his brothers, the time came he couldn't bear it anymore, and he made certain that he would no longer turn his eyes away. This is actually a template for the ultimate redemption, the ultimate reconciliation. And just as Yosef was reunited with his brothers, when the time of the redemption comes also, as the verse testifies, it will happen alone. Remove everyone from before me. And no one remained with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers.